Hey, Bunker Labs. Welcome to the All In Town Hall series. This is the Bunker Labs Digital Community Manager, Liz Marion. We had a bit of a technical difficulty with this particular interview, so please excuse the abrupt start. We are going to be here today with Danielle Cohn, who is the Director of Lift Lab over at Comcast NBC Universal. Lift Lab is an incubator located in Philadelphia. And I'm also so happy to welcome Todd Connor, our guest facilitator, who is the founder of Bunker Labs. Welcome to you both. And Todd, go ahead and kick it off.
It's interesting the focus areas that you chose and how timely those seem in this context. Can you talk a little bit about some examples of companies that have come through these different programs that you find particularly interesting, either because of the success or maybe just in terms of the kinds of things that people are doing that might, intrigue our audience?
Yeah. So each time that companies come through the program, each one of them is so different. And we really look for things like the team matters, all the same things that the Bunker tells you, it's about the team. It's about the founders, their focus. I always find that, entrepreneurs who come from a military background are very focused and on task. I have no doubt that they are the most focused right now, if I had to bet. And so it's really about the team and then the product. So for us, we're really looking at companies that have already been formed. They have a team, there's traction, there is a product. That's, I think, ultimately what we're looking for. What we find is the ones that have the most success during our program are ones that do come in that are really focused and take full advantage of any of the programs that we've run. And they're the ones that know exactly who they want to work with inside our company and maybe outside. They are organized in mentorship and taking full advantage of that. And so a couple that come to mind, just off the top of my head, Tropika is a company that is focused on digital, social, and basically being able to get a bigger bang for your buck with your social ad dollars. And they came through our program, stayed very focused, and they currently are working with us and Universal Pictures and a lot of other parts of the company to lower the costs of ad buys. And then if you think about the trickle of that, we could potentially offer that to our own customers through Comcast Business. That's one example. We have companies even during this time that have just closed on a round because they created something that is really useful. One company in particular called Take Shape, which is focused on something called the Jamstack, and basically making it a lot easier for front-end developers to develop websites without necessarily needing a back-end developer with them. And they have just successfully closed their seed round during this time because it's something that they had serious traction. They've seen success. The team is really focused. We've got one of the two stories from our last program that I love the most are the two moms. The one that was a first-time mom who came to our program. She was 7 months pregnant. She had her baby like the week after demo day. She's still fundraising, didn't miss a beat. And another mother, Molly, who is the first woman is Diana AI Gita, which you can basically ask your data to be pulled up. So I could say, show me last month's sales figure, show me trends for the future. So using machine learning. And then another example, Molly from Messy FM, another mother who moved from California with 2 kids under 2 to do this program. And
Wow.
She's with Messy FM, an all-in-one podcasting platform. Very timely. Everyone's podcasting now. It's a really easy do-it-yourself podcasting platform.
Wow, amazing. And I know that we've referred some different companies over, just to give our audience like a perspective. One that has to do with in-stadium food ordering. It's an app platform. One that was Ear IQ, which has to do with listening. kind of like creating a unique listening profile, which can enhance an audio experience. And in every instance, I'll just say, Danielle's always been helpful to sort of, whether it's the accelerator or some other place within Comcast, you've always been helpful to sort of help make those introductions and reconnections as appropriate. It's probably worth mentioning, and I don't know how active this is, but maybe you can kind of give us a picture here, that Comcast does have its own venture fund and will make acquisitions. Obviously, we're not promising this to anybody, but can you talk a little bit about corporate venture and how that works at Comcast as well? That might be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So our team, Lift Labs, we are not focused on the VC side of things, but there is a Comcast Ventures arm. It's run by a wonderful woman, Amy Bantz, and they make some significant investments in companies that, if you check out their site, it's everything from like Away Luggage to, some of the bigger brands. It's not always directly connected to the business. So sometimes sometimes they're interested in some of the companies coming out, but sometimes they're not, because they have a slightly different thesis. They were an investor in one of our companies called Orai, which is a speech coach, a digital speech coach, which was from our first class. So what we do is we definitely share deal flow with them, and they look at it all the time, and vice versa. If something's too early for them, they will send it back to us. We've also, from a strategic development perspective, so my team sits within strategic development. We sit under Sam Schwartz, the Chief Business Development Officer. And strategic development is really focused on partnerships with larger companies, smaller companies. They look at M&A deals all the time. We have some great success stories on M&A where there's been an investment and then we've acquired the technology or we've acquired the company. And that's been everything from a recent Hippo insurance company, Notion, which is the sensors that allow you to decrease your costs on insurance. 12C, which was acquired, they're actually the sports app. So if any of you have the X1 or Flex product, you can say, turn on my sports app and it'll show you all your sports when there are sports happening. And so we have a continuum where we work with the companies, I'd say at the earliest stage. And when they're ready to go to ventures, we help prepare them to do that. And ventures does an amazing job of, really building a great rapport as well with the companies that are in their portfolio and helping them with business development as well.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the future of work, because that has been an area of conversation that Comcast has really led around and you've been personally involved in. And that was even before COVID and the economic crisis. Could you give us, I'd love to hear, sort of your perspective. What are the conversations that you're privy to around the future of work and what, could be some of the opportunities for those of us that are trying to think about the future and how we come out of this and what comes next?
Yeah, what's really interesting on future of work is that I think everyone's looking at everything right now, right? So like how productive teams are at home. And I think from my perspective, even personally, I find I am super focused. My team, I've just been so incredibly impressed by their ability to just pick up the ball, go digital, and not miss a beat. Like, it's just been great. And the flexibility that's needed, the adaptability that's needed. So I think that the future of work is so much too around not just the technology, but about the people. And do you have the right people who can work remotely or in person? And what's the right skill set? And how do you upskill people so that they can work remotely? So there's, I think, just a lot of tools that people are looking at right now. I think upskilling is definitely an area. Anything that can make it easier for people and businesses to do their best work, by connecting, cultivating talent. The thing that I'm hearing more and more about are definitely the collaboration tools. So right now we've got, the Teams and the Zoom and this and that and all the video chats. the next piece there is really around collaboration tools and what's going to be the stickiest tool. What I also think is fun in all of this is just the improvement in efficiencies and effectiveness, and by simplification, like just simplification across everything. And now more than ever, the most important thing is that you're communicating with your teams, you're communicating clearly with your boss, you're communicating across the whole organization. And so, those are some of the areas I think we're keeping an eye on. And that's just what we know about. I think we're also eyes wide open on what don't we know that we don't know. But I think future of work is an exciting time. I just read an article the other day too of mental health and well-being, and this is something I know the bunker is so good at, is keeping people grounded and focused but balanced. And this can be very overwhelming for people. And I just read an article the other day just about the burnout people are getting from video chats, and how important it is to take time to yourself, schedule 15 minutes between calls, it's okay not to be on video. I mean, right now I have to be, but it's okay to turn the video off. Even just the other day, I was calling my father, who's in a retirement community, and my mother and father. It was very overwhelming for them to watch video and talk to me. And so I've just started to call them and just have a phone conversation. And even my team, we're doing one-on-ones, just walking and talking instead of looking at each other all the time. So I think there's just so much happening, great tools already that are out there by big companies. And it'll be interesting, and when I say that, like, you've got Teams, our whole company is using Teams. Everybody's in Teams and the video capability. And then you've got Zoom and all the communication happening there, and the overlap too of what people are using at home and what they're using for work. There's a mesh where I think you might not have thought about that in the past, of using a work tool necessarily for something personal or vice versa.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really interesting time. What do you think, Todd? How's your team doing on work?
Yeah.
You're already used to working this way, but.
Well, it is interesting. And I want to piggyback maybe, and I'll give you some thoughts, but then I want to kick it back to you, because it's I mean, we're all learning this sort of new language of competency. We've always been a virtual team at the bunker. So in some ways, this just, I think, has accelerated where we were in many ways headed as a distributed workforce, a workforce that was already committed to co-working and as being a sort of a good model. I do think it's forcing a conversation around, the lines around home and work are increasingly blurred, right? I mean, in these moments, we are literally working from home. And there's opportunities with that. But we got to learn to find, like, it actually, I think it is a mental health conversation about how do you find the balance of being a parent and being a colleague and being a leader, and doing it all with, a lot happening in the background.
And equity too, right? So not everybody can afford to have work, help right now. And I don't have kids, so I have the, I guess, luxury of, I don't have people running around or drawing at my attention outside of work during the workday. Yeah. But for a lot of people, they're dealing with a lot of stuff right now, personally and professionally, and a lot of schools were just completely canceled. Camps are canceled, right? So it's going to be, I think, also a test of patience for managers and making sure that we're, being mindful that people have many other things going on in their life beside work right now.
Yeah, right. I have a baby that might wake up any minute. So if I dash off, it's to get him.
Just have him join the call.
Taking a nap. Oh, he will. Yeah, he's good on Zoom. Yeah, he's baby Zoomer. I tried to coin that as the generation. Someone had already done it. So let me ask, because there's lots of equity considerations and the challenges and yeah. I think about rural broadband access and things that Comcast has already been pushing towards, but the urgency around internet access and connectivity becomes that much more heightened in this environment. Let me ask you a question, and I don't know if this is being talked about as much, but we talk about the future of work, but what's the future of play and recreation? You know, a big part of the Comcast portfolio is theme parks and sports and entertainment and the things that we go to sort of find relief and joy and play. Like, what's the forecast there? I don't believe that the fundamentals of us wanting to physically get together is going to go away, but what does that look like going forward? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because obviously sports aren't happening right now, but people are still really hungry for an alternative. And so esports is an option. You know, we do have 2 esports teams. We've got the Fusion and the T1. We actually have, from our last accelerator, one of our companies is in esports space. And it's, you know, so I think that there's like that piece. For other parts of play, I think one of the areas that's been interesting to watch is just, you know, television games and games in general, you know, whether that's Jackbox, lots of people really interested in that and downloading that. You know, the idea of play in general, I think people are going to have this pent up interest in play. There's obviously a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes too, to ensure that when we are ready and places can reopen, that safety and security is number one, right, for all guests. But there are a lot of opportunities to think about that, whether that's when, you know, parks reopen, when event venues reopen, taking all of those considerations into that. But I think interactive and immersive experiences that can work on the road and at home, more and more people, I think, want the ability to do what they want to do wherever they want to do it. You know, concerts are going to be interesting. This isn't necessarily our forte, but one of my favorite music festivals was unfortunately just canceled. But one of the areas I've been so excited to see is musicians, I think, have just done a great job, as have hosts of television shows, of like letting you into their home. And that's where I think play and entertainment are going to start, again, this sort of like work-life balance. I mean, we're looking in Jimmy Fallon's home. We can see into his treehouse. And that's awesome. I don't know that we would have had that access in a way. You know, but definitely I think gamification is certainly here to stay, and everyone is looking for a way to have fun and release the energy that they're feeling right now when things are really tough. So, you know, play is not going away. I'm also a big believer that we'll make a comeback on travel. As someone who worked in the travel industry for almost 20 years, my heart goes out to everyone in the travel industry. But I know based on history that we will travel again, we'll meet again. People are hungry for the in-person experiences, but we have to make sure that it'll be a safe, masked experience in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is undoubtedly going to be a conversation for some time to come. So I know that we're short on time. Some folks did ask questions. If we didn't get to answer those live, we will do our best to kind of connect you with the right folks. Zane asked a question: what would you recommend applicants who are in the conceptual phase of their products do when applying for Lift Labs? So I think you touched on this, but can you maybe?
Yeah, I mean, in general, for our accelerators, we do ask that there is an actual product. So if it is just an idea or a concept, my suggestion is actually go through the process of applying to programs, because it actually helps you to build a business plan, build a business model, answer the questions, know the questions. It's actually helpful to go through that. Just know that each program, whether that's with us or if it's another program that you're applying for, they're all looking for different things. There's a different threshold of what they consider high potential for their program. I also saw in here, someone asked about like West Coast accelerators. We don't physically have accelerators now in the West Coast, but we have teams there. And so the accelerators right now are in Philadelphia and in Atlanta. but we have mentors that are in California at Universal Parks and Universal Pictures and others. So in general, you are moving for a time frame for an accelerator. It doesn't really matter if you're from that area. You want to go work with the partner and the partners that are running the program wherever they are.
Yeah, exactly. So that's more about the kind of the vertical alignment. If you've got a media or connectivity company, you want to be tied into the Comcast accelerators, because that's really where the expertise can be yielded. There are a lot, just to answer that question, there are lots of accelerators on the West Coast, in San Diego, LA.
Yep.
They're going to have different vertical focuses. Techstars, who Danielle mentioned, is a national organization with accelerators in a number of these markets, I believe, including San Diego. So, we can, if you go to the Bunker Labs resource page, we have links to a lot of other accelerators as well. We're happy to tie you in. So maybe one more question. So Sib asked a question. The Comcast accelerator, or Lift Labs, is it focused on media only, or could companies such as like consulting firms or digital marketing agencies be included? Can you maybe speak to that idea?
So the answer is no, it's not really for that. These are for entrepreneurs who are building a product or a new technology that's a specific standalone business. If there's a solution that you have that you don't need to go through an accelerator, so you're more of a small business trying to get access to be able to pitch to a specific business area within Comcast and BCU, that's very different. Yeah.
That's great. And I think for professional services, because we do get this question a lot from professional services entrepreneurs, which is, looking at accelerators, I would just say, what's the, why do you think you need an accelerator? There's a clear mandate if it's a technology or scalable kind of business, because of the things that happen in an accelerator, which is they're really built around that. But if you're a professional service, we can help you scale your business through programs that we run at Bunker Labs, like CEO Circle, but typically accelerators and venture capital too. And really outside investments are going to be reserved for scalable businesses, which typically professional services we don't think of as being in that category.
That's correct.
Just to offer that, because we get that question a lot.
Yep.
Well, then, yes, please.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. Because I think there's a big conversation around why there's lots of capital out there. In theory, the best capital is not needing capital. In our view, but there are understanding why do angel investors invest, and what's the kind of businesses versus venture capital versus corporate venture capital versus angel investors, friends and family. It's all very different. But for professional services, that's really, we have caution against taking loans or even getting outside capital for most professional services businesses, because there's a path to bootstrapping it, which is actually the best kind. So. Yep. Anyway, this has been a great conversation. For those that whose questions we didn't answer, Liz will capture those, and we'll see if we can circle back in the Facebook group. But Danielle, thank you for sharing your insights. This was fantastic, and I know you're very busy, so we're grateful that you would come spend some time with us.
No, thank you so much. And if anyone's interested in connecting with us, go to ComcastNBCULift.com. You can sign up for our newsletter, request office hours if you're interested in the accelerator. Keep in touch. And thank you, Todd, and congratulations on your new baby.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Liz.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you both. And I did drop my email if you want to send those questions to your questions, or also just in the chat. So feel free to email us those questions. I actually think Danielle at the end there just answered two of the questions that came through about the office hours and things. So we will look forward to seeing all of you all during this week. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we have events every single day leading up to Military Spouse Appreciation Day on Friday, where we will have a military spouse entrepreneur roundtable. So looking forward to that. One of those entrepreneurs, of which is in Techstars right now, or just did her demo day virtually, I guess, Michelle Atkinson. So we will see all of you later. Please feel free to message us. And thanks, Todd. Thanks, Danielle.
Bye. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Danielle.